Russ Milheim from The Direct. Thank you guys for talking to me today about the movie.
Hello.
Great to speak to you. Yeah.
Same. Congratulations on being here. It's a wonderful moment to be able to get everyone together to come see this movie. Now, the animation style is iconic. In the moment you see it, you recognize it. So then, but I mean, this franchise has been around for a while. So how do you guys work to, keep it modern while not changing things too much and keeping the classic style, but, keeping it modern and evolving as each franchise or as each entry goes on?
I think it's very much that we have such good animators, art directors, scenic artists that have worked with Nick and me over the years, is that actually we don't need to reinvent it. And there's a lovely feeling of familiarity, but also with the themes that we're looking at in the film, it's the stories have a slightly more contemporary edge. So it's not all about being old-fashioned and being old. Yes, the technique that we use is as old as cinema itself, but I think there's as long as there's a joy and an enthusiasm while we're making it, hopefully that comes out on the screen.
Yeah, and the characters themselves have evolved. If you look at the earliest Wallace Gromit film, you can see that they've evolved, and we've tracked that over the different films and decided what they should look like now. They're very small differences.
And as we've got better at it over the years.
But as Merlin says, no matter how much we embraced, and technology is so useful to us in so many ways, at the heart of it is the handmade thing. The charm, which you can't replace, and we will, no matter what tech we use, it will be about people putting themselves into these characters.
And these are actually the characters from the film, so this is the scale we shoot at.
No, that sounds like it's a really intense process.
Yeah.
So, for both of you with this movie, what do you think was the most unique part of the experience compared to anything else you guys have done in your career?
Well, I think it was the fact that we came into it feeling confident about the story, and it's not always the case with films. We've made a lot of films, and you start filming, and sometimes you don't know where Act 3 is going. But I think for me that was a great thing. We kind of knew the film we wanted to make, and we kind of had our plan, and we had the time and the space to execute it.
Yes. And I guess the biggest challenge was animating the penguin, Feathers McGraw.
Yeah.
Even though it was all established, it's not new, it's in The Wrong Trousers, animated by a guy called Steve Box. But we've kept very much, actually keeping on track was probably the most difficult discipline thing to do, to not over-animate him, but keeping him very, very sort of steady and online and very subtle in his movements. And keeping him very strong, really.
Two more quick questions. What are you most proud of with this movie and how it turned out?
I'm really proud that we're here in Hollywood having the premiere at a venue like this. I mean, come on, that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah. And working with Netflix was great. The fact that they respected the legacy of Wallace and Gromit, and they respected our vision for this movie. So we've got to make the movie we've dreamed of making.
So in the future, when another Wallace and Gromit film is made, what is something you would like to explore with this franchise that you have not yet? All hypothetical.
We need to. Well, there's always lots there. I mean, the great thing is having created characters that have now a built-in dynamic that you can almost put them anywhere, and you will get great comedy and stretching of their relationship in some way or other.
I guess we don't know what it's going to be, but watch this space.
Congratulations on being here, first and foremost. It's exciting.
It's very exciting.
It's nice to finally be here.
Yeah.
When it comes to Wallace and Gromit, it's been around for a while. So what is it like keeping the iconic style and feel of these movies while also making sure it is still modern in a sense and contemporary and can connect with audiences today in the same way that it could years ago?
Yeah, well, I think it's all about storytelling at the end of the day, and defining this relationship that they have. And we strive to keep it nice and pure, as we did in the early days, before we had all the special effects. However, we are always willing to take advantage of all those effects, and there are some pretty neat ones in here. There's a lot of there's a lot of extra things there, but at the heart of it, it is putting characters in front of the camera and animating them with love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Dave's right. It's all about the characters. I mean, I think, Wallace's world has evolved a little. It's still quite timeless, though. he's got a computer, but it's very much of that sort of Wallace and Gromit world, nothing too modern in there. So I think it has its own language, I think, and rule book, the Wallace and Gromit world, and you just sort of go with it. I think it's just one of those things. So it evolves very slowly, but basically at the heart of it is two characters that don't age, and it is all about that friendship and that love, and I think that's what we all lean into, I think, as well.
What would you guys say is the most unique experience that you guys had on this movie compared to everything else you've done? It's a big question, I know.
I don't know. I mean, it's quite often everything is pre-planned because it's so much of it is controllable. But it's part of the chase sequence at the end, which people hopefully will enjoy. That took a lot of pre-planning and a lot of post work as well to actually pull it all together, because it evolves from one time period to a sort of later in the day, and that had to be constructed in advance in theory, and then in practice it's all in the grading. I mean, which is quite a different experience, I think, for a Wallace and Gromit film.
I think we had COVID early on as well. That was a whole new experience.
It was kind of a thing.
Yeah. It's a kind of a thing, yeah. But actually, in a way, it worked really well for us because everything slowed down on our previous film, and that just gave the guys a lot more time in story to really get the story honed before we went into production. So if anything, I think it's made the whole process smoother. So thank you, COVID.
It's good in everything.
Something that's not often said, but there you go.
We'll take advantage of anything that comes our way.
You kind of teased this, but what is something that you can say that about this movie, about Vengeance Most Fowl, that this movie did that the rest of the franchise hasn't done yet?
I don't know. The space has opened up a little bit more. So we have taken advantage of a lot of the technology to increase the look of the effects work in there. But at the heart of it is still good old-fashioned stop frame animation.
Yeah, and I think it's just lovely to have feathers back on our screens after 25 years plus. I think that for us is the major excitement, just to bring back such an iconic villain. Certainly around the studio when Nick first pitched the idea, that's what gave us goosebumps anyway. So.
Very last question. In the future, hypothetically, when there's another Wallace and Gromit film, what is something you would love to see explored in one of these movies that has not happened yet?
You want another plot device for the future, yes? Yeah.
All hypothetical. But what would you want to see? Not that it's happening, but like...
Haven't they?
Yeah.
Where can we send them next?
I don't send them underwater. That's very difficult to film.
Sounds like a fun challenge.
That would be a challenge, yeah, and me.
I think that's a question for Nick. What's his next film? So, yeah.
Well, thank you guys both very much. Hello, I'm Russ Milhane from The Direct. Thank you for talking with me today.
No problem.
Congratulations on the movie and being here. It's an exciting Sunday.
Yes, it is really exciting. It's good. After 5 years or whatever, suddenly to have it here and on the big screen, we can't wait.
I'm excited to watch it. But before I watch it, I want to ask, when it comes to Wallace and Gromit, it's been around for a while.
Yeah.
So how do you guys work to make sure that the story and the franchise stays modern, relevant, and contemporary, while also not getting rid of the classic style and feel that these movies do have?
Well, I think that's a choice you make during production, in that Nick and Merlin were always very clear with everybody on the crew that if we could, we'd make the film as we would have made it 30 years ago. But if we needed to do something which we couldn't do that way, like there's a sequence at the end of the film which I won't spoil for you all, but it needed all the tools in the toolbox to do it. So I think it's knowing when to use technology and new ideas and when just to sit back and do it as we always would have done. And hopefully that'll give the feel of classic Wallace and Gromit, but also see things that you haven't seen before.
What is something about your time on this movie and during the production that was the most unique for you, especially compared to the rest of your career? What is something that you did on this movie that you're like, wow, I've never had to deal with that, or I've never done that before?
There's a lot of water in the film. Like normally water for stop motion is something that like you just shy away from, but like
no thanks.
Yeah, no thank you. That would be a nightmare. But on this film, we've done a lot of water stuff, and we've pulled it off as well. And I think hopefully it fits in the world of Wallace and Gromit, and people are like, it'll be an exciting bit of a new. Like our VFX team really sort of rose to the challenge. So it was good to do that.
One question I had asked them, what is something that you would love to see explored in a future Wallace and Gromit film that hasn't happened yet? And they were like, they mentioned that filming in underwater would be an interesting challenge. I don't know if you agree with that sentiment.
It would definitely be an interesting challenge. Yeah, that would be exciting.
Would that be your top pick?
I don't know. Who knows? If that's what Nick and Merlin want to do, I'll help them do it. Yeah.
What are you most proud of with how this final movie turned out?
I think what I'm most proud of is I feel like we've made a film that Nick and Merlin wanted to make. I felt they were like, there were always compromises, but we were able to make the film that they wanted to make, and that's been really exciting. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, sir. It's good meeting you.